Gentlemen, first and foremost, oh yeah, it is happening, everybody. How are we doing today? Today is Tuesday, March 31st. Can you guys believe that we are pretty much done with, what is it, the first quarter, right? The first quarter of 2020. And what a crazy 2020 it has been. First and foremost, as like yesterday, I don't know what has been going on with my internet. I don't know what's been going on with the internet here in San Diego, but do expect me to cut in and out again. I apologize. It's not anything that I can control. Apparently, the internet, even when I get on the StreamYard, StreamYard even has a warning that says, due to COVID-19, due to the amount of people that are home, bandwidth is being fucking eaten up. So expect delays and the like. So I'm going to do my best, obviously, to just keep rolling with the punches, but that's essentially what's going on when it comes to the reason why there's like some skippage and delay and all that other shit. So, and lag and all that good stuff. So nothing I can control at this very moment in time. My internet has been complete shit, though. I can't really stream much of anything. I'm surprised I can get on here and do this. Who knows? Anyway, we've got quite a few people up in the chat already. J-Man is asking me how I'm doing right now. I'm doing fucking well. I'm doing well. I'm, hooking and jabbing in the fucking trenches right now. The trenches of isolation and not having a gym. Trying to do my best. Matt W, how we doing? Greenies, how you doing? Max, what's going on? Gladium, how we doing? It's good to see you guys all up in here. As usual, let's make sure that we are going and hitting that like button. Join suit as always. And of course, it's going to be slow as fuck. So, at least some music while I do that. Fuck, this shit's so messed. This is so crazy. I'm gonna wait for that to load up a little bit. It's so slow. And I'm going to click off that. Anyway, domestic supply chain is starting to break down as we anticipated. Shit, that's actually what I was supposed to do today too, but I had too much going on. I was supposed to go to Costco today and see if I can go and pick up some more, not supplies, like actual just normal everyday foodstuffs to keep my stuff running. But I didn't go today, so I'm going to have to go tomorrow. That's fine because tomorrow is rest day anyway. So I don't have to worry about working out other than getting up and just going and doing my to do is cardio. That's what I'm trying to say. Cardio. Hey, Morton, how you doing? I'm getting back what's going on. This fellow warrior forever. There we go. Come on. There we go. If you guys aren't following Greeny's Gains, go and check out his YouTube channel where he will show you how to use and improve with your bathmate. I have been having a negative relationship with my bathmate as of late. I don't know why. It's not suctioning. And it's only been a week since owning it. So I'm going to have to either make some adjustments or I just don't have a good one. So we'll see. It could be me. It could be the bathmate. I don't know. Going to give it a try later on, though. Anyway, holy crap. I have worked out and I did a whole bunch of cardio today and I sat in my sauna. Trying to kind of change things up a little bit. I'm super sore lately. My muscles are not happy with me. I need a fucking massage. I need to get acupuncture. and I cannot do either of those two things at the moment. I could do acupuncture. I need to schedule an appointment, but anyway. Oh, I got to let you guys know I am very, very pleased with the episode yesterday. Honestly, I'm kind of reeling still off of that one, and I'm expecting to bring to you guys a phenomenal episode as well today. Kind of some of the stuff. Plus, news just came out. Let's read this. News for you. Trump says the next 2 weeks will be very painful as confirmed U.S. cases approach 200,000. At the White House, medical experts on Tuesday, President Trump warned of a very, very painful 100,000 to 200,000 Americans could. Experts struck a more optimistic note, suggesting extensive mitigation efforts could yield results by July. Okay, whatever you guys say. Whatever. Aren't real or are greatly exaggerated like coronavirus and everything else. They program us to be terrified of it. And what cool. There we go. No, and please forgive. I don't know what's going on. Just even clicking the mouse on a taking fucking 20 goddamn years. That if you guys can hear me fucking slamming this thing over here, fucking one in the chat, fucking ridiculous. Oh, sweet gumdrops. Anyway. Rocking the hookah today because why not? Why not? Today's been a pretty crazy, I'd say like the last 2 days have been really reflective for me too as well. Because of this isolation and so forth, I've actually been doing a lot of reading, as you guys all know. I've been talking about the spiritual practices of the ninja, even though I'm getting a little bit bored with the book right now. I feel like I've taken away everything I need to take away from it. I started reading The Way of Men again last night, and that kind of hit more of the note that I'm looking for at this moment. I'm also listening to, what was it? 33 Strategies of War. Is that what it's called? There we go. Yeah, the 33 Strategies of War I'm listening to, as well as I started re-listening to The Rational Male at the same time as well. So I started re-listening to that. I think The Rational Male, the first book, is really the only one of importance, to be honest with you. It has some great gems that are in there, and I think it's good to re-listen and catch up on this stuff. Another tremendous book that you guys should be reading too as well, if you haven't read this, is No More Mr. Nice Guy. Just take into consideration and understand that Dr. Robert Glover, much like I know in Dr. Sean Smith as well, they're both still very blue pill, nice guy, gentlemanly type people. There isn't a fucking ounce of aggression or anything in these guys. And I have an issue with people like that, honestly, because as much as they're trying to help men in today's world, they're still way too focused on emotions and feelings and all this other stuff and giving the benefit of the doubt, much more so than actually just being fucking men and leading from the front and possibly making mistakes and all this other stuff. I've really noticed this behavior in a lot of these guys, where, you know, and I'm starting to see this among the red pill people in the red pill sphere as well. I'm starting to call a lot of these guys red pill masturbators. I hate to say that. I really do. I'm not trying to fucking dissuade anyone from listening to me or anything like that. But the problem is, and the thing that I'm starting to see with most people is They really just want happy pills delivered to them. Oh, I believe in this one thing. It's nice to believe. It's nice to belong to this one group. Let's sit here and kind of jerk off to theory for a while. But then you look at these guys, you look at these people, and you sit there and you say, you know, what are they actually doing and implementing into their own life? And the answer is that most people aren't doing. They're not doing the work. They're really not doing the real deal stuff that they need to be doing. This is why I really think that the answer to a lot of the issues that we're facing right now is essentially what I fucking hit on yesterday. It's cultivating the archetype of the warrior. Become a fucking warrior. Become a warrior. You need to learn and deal with death. You need to learn and deal with aggression. You need to learn and deal with discipline. You need to learn to deal with structure. You need to learn to deal with establishing and reinforcing boundaries. And at points in time, it's going to have to be delivered in a way that isn't nice. It isn't political. It isn't PC. It doesn't feel nice to the other person. This is not toxic masculinity like people try to sit there and trumpet it as. That's a bad man because he said something that was rude or he cut that person off or whatever. No. If people start to encroach upon the boundaries of things that you know, especially when it comes to truth and reality, you have every right in the world to just be like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, shut up. No, that's not true. Shut up. And like I said, I'm not saying this is how you have to handle every fucking situation, but you guys, you lack teeth. You do. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of men today is you lack teeth. You lack the ability to fucking sink into something, bite into it, and fucking just rip it to shreds. Instead, you got these fucking filed down teeth in this nice, comfortable fucking culture and society. And you think that that's the way to progress and move forward. And the reality is, the times ahead are not going to be fucking very welcoming to that type of individual. You have to start training your mind. You need to start training your mind like a weapon. You need to start training your body like a weapon. You need to start training yourself to understand, holy fuck, I have to be ready for fucking anything. And I need to get rid of this like code of honor and this fucking moral and ethical fucking high ground that, hey, I might have to fucking hurt some people. I might have to do damage to people. I might have to do damage to things. And it's not an easy pill to swallow. It really isn't. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I hate to say it like this, but better you than me. Better fucking you than me. Sounds cold-hearted. But the problem again, too, is this. Like a lot of men in today's world have been raised with this fucking, I call it the church of empathy. I'm going to do an episode on this stuff. The church of empathy. This has been touted as the highest form of value or virtue in our society as of late. And empathy is good and all, because I do really believe that people in the future, like where we're evolving to, are people that have high IQ and high EQ at the same time. But just because you have a high EQ, you have a high emotional intelligence, it doesn't mean that you have to be a spineless, wormly type individual that just floats around in feelings and the feelings of other people all the time. It's like, okay, understand that what you do will impact other people's feelings. Right? So you're taking your action with this level of empathy of knowing, yeah, this is probably how they're going to fucking react. And this is probably how they're going to feel. But at the same time, you're also removing yourself from that. Because what happens now is this: a lot of people think this is part of their journey is to like, oh, I need to sacrifice what's good for me in order to make other people feel a certain way. And it's like, that's not your journey. That's not your responsibility. Think about that quicksand, this quagmire of a type of thought and feeling that has. That's essentially slavery. You're a slave to other people. You can't act out your own will because you're constantly having to sit there and have feelings for how other people will feel. No. I get it. Like, have some understanding of that, but you don't need to make every decision based off of that. I think, and I'll scroll up here a little bit because everybody's fucking talking about Christianity as of late. I was going to go off on it today for sure, but no big deal. I'm looking forward to the latest Rational Mail because it will help addressing some of the discrepancies between Christianity and the evidence that the red pill has brought. I have a full-blown chapter in my new book about spirituality, and it pretty much tackles the red pill from a spiritual and an anti-religion point with red pill truths. If you haven't got my new book, you can get it on Kindle. Highly recommend that you do. But I feel like I did a phenomenal job breaking that stuff down, understanding how religion traps people's mind, which makes you controllable. It does not allow for the individual to progress his own spiritual growth. Instead, you get locked into a consortium, a collective of people that all kind of operate on the same frequency as far as that's concerned. And then they look and they go through a stovepipe, which is essentially the pastor. And the pastor is like the stovepipe to the spiritual or God or whatever the hell you want to call it. Whereas the reality is this: you guys can get there all on your own. It's just that most people are too lazy. They're too lazy to want to take control within their own life. Now, it's not just also that people are too lazy. It's also that people have been brainwashed to believe that they can't do it, that this is the way. Religion is the way to go through it. But the thing that you got to understand, guys, is this: simply, Christianity is it's a fucking beta factory farm. It's a means for whoever's in control of the organization to create a group of followers. They have this perfect son type of archetype that is the center of it. And here's the thing: is that first to preserve feminism has shown plain and simple that Christianity is a flawed system. Feminism has wiped out Christianity completely because it is a system that creates weak men that believe in an idealistic environment and an idealistic world. It is not reality. Sexual market and how to create and turn yourself into a prime candidate on the sexual marketplace. The sexual marketplace is the old, longest lasting marketplace in the history of man. It's what we operate on. Our base instincts operate on the sexual marketplace. There's nothing about the Bible. The people who are in control are essentially that created a pyramid. Notice any pyramid scheme. What pyramid scheme? These people don't want other people want any form of increase or decrease in the hierarchy. They will be solidified. How do you create a hierarchy where there's no ability or variability for people to rise and fall up and down this hierarchy? Well, what you do is you create the kingmakers, right? You create the people that are the heads of this organization, of this scam, of this pyramid scheme. And then you water down the message completely. Bits of truth. You give them little tiny bits of truth, just a little bit, so that it's not 100% a full-blown scam. You make the message very emotional. kill to as many people as possible. But the thing is with this, then after that, what you do is you pretty much cuck the men. Because if you really break down what our motivation as men are when we want to get to the top of the pyramid, it's to control resources and it's to have the highest amount of access to all of the women or the highest levels of women. So in order to do so, what you need to do is a bunch of betas or lower beneath you. Women are going to be attracted to the people at the top of the hierarchy, and then you just operate from there. That's all. That's it. So that's essentially what has happened with Christianity. Is it's used this model of this man who is like this perfect angel. He's such a sweet, nice guy. He's just so nice. He's just so good. Like he's just so he's just the essential nice guy. Hey, look at this guy. Strive to be this way. Meanwhile, you have the people in the background that are operating behind closed doors, doing everything that fucking alphas, well, unfortunately, it's the shadow side of masculinity, like what we talked about yesterday, who are doing all the nefarious shit in order to grow and build that fucking power structure and further their power, further their dominance. It's like, this is why I believe in a monarchy. You can't hide the monarchy. You can't. It's a set, distinct power structure. This is who's at the top. This is the decisions he's making. These are the things that he's doing, right? And in a way, in order to keep at bay from trying, you have to deliver some transparency as far as what you're doing. Not fully transparent all the time, for sure, but you have to be pretty transparent as far as how that's going. Anyway. Yeah, that's a good call. I should turn down the video quality. Hang on one second. I'm going to do that. Holy cow. All right. Good stuff. Lower the video quality down to the lowest possible so that I don't eat up so much bandwidth. It's a little awkward, but whatever. We'll hang with this shit. Lights went out in San Diego. That's hilarious. It's the beginning of the end, people. Oh yeah. Nice way to scare people for sure. Yeah, that's why I just stuck to reading the Bible. I have no problem interpreting it. I don't need a pastor. It's there in plain English for the win. There you go. But when you start manipulating people using the Bible, the moral high ground, I don't know. There's so many interpretations of it too. Next thing you know, there's division everywhere. I just I highlight it in my new guys. I highlight it in my new book. I believe in teaching people how to pursue the spiritual path on their own, go through their own rituals, find the truth out for themselves. That's what I've done. That's what I've done personally. I found out the truth via going to spirit, let's say, personally, and seeing it and feeling it and experiencing it myself. And the cool part is, guys, you don't really hear me coming out here and preaching any type of thing other than go find out yourself. I talk about masculinity, but you don't hear me talking about fucking, hey, here's what you need to do in order to be a spiritual man. I mean, there's some aspects I think that help out: meditation, jujitsu, working out, training in fucking violence and aggression. I think that's the masculine side of spirituality. I believe in hunting and sourcing things yourself. I believe in creating your own reality, making things happen your own way, right? This is what I've deduced from everything. But instead of sitting here and preaching things, guys, this is what I do. I act it out in my own life. You guys want a role model? Here's a fucking role model. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what works for me. Take some of the tools that I use on your own distinct path. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm psyched about these BJJ gym mats. Now to find a willing victim to practice my Darce choke on. We're because if you're close by, I'll fucking stop by and we'll do some fucking jits. I'm all about it. I'm itching. I'm itching to get back on the mat. So okay. Come on, fucking criminies, dude. Jeez Louise. We live in a shitty world. I don't believe if we all break down and raise up our arms and ask for Jesus to hold our hand, it will save 100%. Just because it's 2,000 years old doesn't make it right. Agreed. The other thing is this. This is what most people overlook. They say, oh, it's in the Bible, so therefore it's true, or it's in the Bible, Christianity, the prime, whatever. Guys, there were civilizations 10,000 years before this. And I'm sure each one of those civilizations knew those basic tenets of truth that lie within the Bible. They all operated that way. They understood the sexual marketplace. They how to control women's hypergamy. They understood what it meant to be a masculine man. These aren't things that needed to be put down. I think, well, actually scratch that. I think these are things that were taught via tribal lessons that were part of tradition. And that's what I'm trying to bring back into the world today as well. It's what I talk about in my fucking new book. Jesus fucking Christ, people. You guys want to know the fucking answers to things? Well, at least hear my theory on it. Buy the fucking book, read it, leave a goddamn review, chat with me about it in the fucking chat, right? Because like the crazy part is I cover all this stuff. I talk about all this stuff. Anyway, if Christianity was the way, it wouldn't have been defeated by feminism. It wouldn't have. We'd all be rocking and rolling, and that would be it. That's how it would be. We'd be in a fucking perfect little world. But guess what? 2,000 years of rocking and rolling, and guess what? The world's more fucked than it was before. So I think we're approaching a new fucking age where people are going to be able to have their own sovereignty when it comes to exploring spirituality. And I think that's the best way as far as spirituality is concerned. I think understanding the sexual marketplace, I believe understanding things from a red pill lens. I think these are the two major things that are necessary to get things back in balance. But you don't hear about any of that stuff in the Bible now, do you? Why don't you hear anything about the sexual marketplace and building your value up in the sexual marketplace? Why don't you hear anything about that, guys? Oh, because it's turn the other cheek and be meek. Look at this guy who died on the cross. Look at him. He sacrificed everything for your sins. Ooh, and if you don't behave, guess where you're going? You're going to hell, right? That's fear, man. That's guilt. That's shame. That's not a good mentor. That's not a good mentor at all. I say give people freedom to do what they have to do. If you guys don't know anything about the Council of Nicaea, Constantine saw this as a fucking power grab. And this is what I talk about as far as understanding the pyramid scheme. Understand it from a pyramid scheme type of aspect, and you will understand how Christianity has flourished and the reason and why it is set up the way it is set up. Each age, 21, 54, has its own set of religions and its set of traditions. At the end of the age, the religions are cast off with new beliefs coming into practice. What you're talking about right now is Philip Franklin, is the fact that we are now in the age of Aquarius. I actually read an article last night about this from a woman. Ugh. And it was so fucking, it was just so steeped in feminism. It was just disgusting. But yes, he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And we are at the end of the age of the Pisces, which is also the age of this. Believe it or not, what my take on this whole thing is the fact that during this time frame, we were able to see the shadow and the shadow sides of femininity. And what we are going to be approaching is an age where we are now able to bring them back into the spotlight and create an environment where we have more positive outlooks and mentorship in the environment of masculinity and femininity. And I talk about why masculinity and femininity, the two sides of the polarities, right, are necessary for reality. So again, I'm pitching my book, yes, but please do go look at it. Please take a look. I'm telling you, I cover all this stuff in the book. God isn't religious. Yeah, religion is all meant. It's like Philip Franklin just said, it's all part of an age. And the crazy part is this is all set up to teach us certain things about consciousness. Push us further down the storyline. The Egyptians, they believed in one thing. The Vikings, they believed in one thing, right? As we see now today, there's three major religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those are the three major. But then we have a whole bunch of other ones too as well. There's some overlap between each one of them. There's a lot of differences between them. Now it comes down to this is the time where the individual will be given and granted the ability to have their own sovereignty and go down their own direction in the spiritual sense. Of course, there's going to be different people that follow and believe different things, but I don't believe it's going to be in the sense of necessarily like religions. There's not going to be dogmatic practice. There should be some teachers out there that can help you, but understanding what they offer isn't going to be end all be all. And just like any student, this is like what I'm starting to see now as a teacher myself, as a mentor. There's times where your students are going to learn some stuff from you, and then they're going to break and go on their own, and they're going to go down their own path. Some will come back. Some will just keep marching down their own path. But you're able to sit there and learn something from someone, and then and that kind of gives you the new direction to start walking down. So, yeah. Ugh. Needed some bubblies. Good stuff, though. I'm liking this conversation. It's kind of crazy that this whole thing's popping up. Donovan Sharp just did a show today on Christianity as well. Everybody's wanting to talk about it. I don't know. But good stuff. Like I'm a huge fan of it. I think that people though that are glued to Christianity and this belief are still stuck in a belief system of duality, good versus evil, dark versus light, heaven versus hell, Satan versus Jesus. And essentially what it comes down to is, like I talked about earlier, this is essentially just a fear of death. The biggest contraption that's holding people back is this fear of death, because death is final for most people. They don't understand that death is not the finality of your existence. The next thing is they don't want to die, and they don't want to show up at the pearly gates and then having Jesus, having been wrong their entire life, and then having Jesus standing there and be like, "Oh, you've denied me, so now you're going to hell." That's some fucking bullshit, guys. That's some serious fear and control campaign. That's stopping a lot of people from pursuing their own autonomy because they're fearful of dying and being wrong. I've been in that boat for a long time, guys. I really was for quite some time. Even though I knew all this stuff was wrong and it didn't sit well within my soul, there was a fear that I had for some time that I had to shed, where it was like, I want to walk down this path of being my own. I don't want to worship anyone. I don't want to believe in this thing that is controlling me. But what if I'm wrong? And being scared of being wrong. And now I'm at the point where here's my flag in the ground. This is to know from all of the rituals that I've been through. And I'm going to continue to believe in this stuff. And even if I fucking die and I am wrong, at least I died from my convictions. At least I was man enough to sit here and say I died with my beliefs intact and went in the direction that my soul led me down. And I think there's a lot of men out there that are not willing to do stuff like that. They're not willing to be strong. They're not willing to let go of things. There's also a marriage here between the fact that your parents probably taught you this, and this is a part of your family's legacy. And it's kind of funny because we talk about this stuff. You know, when it really comes down to things, God is your parents. If you really want to look at the archetype of it, when you're born to them, you believe that these parents are angelic, that you believe that they're godlike. They have ultimate control and power over you. They teach you what is wrong and right. And this is the inability for people to sit there and look at their parents as flawed subjects, as human beings. To sit here and say, man, maybe my parents were wrong. And here and say, I'm going to go against my parents in this aspect. What's going to happen if I reject their teachings? What's going to happen if I reject these beliefs that have been steeped in my family for so long? This is what belief is, guys, right? It's, again, you not wanting to take control as an individual in your own life, but buy into the things that were prescribed for you. It's a sense of laziness. It's a sense of fear as well. It's not wanting to come to terms and come to grips with the fact that you might have been led astray, which is kind of funny because we could sit here and talk about the red pill stuff all day long and see how society is blue pilled and how society fucks with you and how society controls your mind and the direction and indoctrinates you into things. But then when it comes to religion, people are so scared. They're so scared to say, with the red pill, it's everything but religion. Oh yeah, I'll question everything else but religion. It's crazy how that has the highest level of grasp over people's belief systems. Once you shed that, guys, once you question this stuff, once you become a cynic to all of that, and you really, really push past just faith and belief and start to sit there and weigh things with a rational mind, it doesn't add up. None of it adds up. And you know it. Like I said yesterday, if the Bible was really, truly red pill, why isn't it a handbook? Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Here's the truth. This is how you navigate this stuff. Here's all this stuff. Why is it steeped in fucking parables? Why is it steeped in these things that make it so that you can be emotionally attached and come up with your own conclusions based off of it? Why is it so hard why does it need to be interpreted? Why is it interpreted? Hey, do this. Hey, do that. This is how human beings are. This is how men should be. This is how women should be. If it's an instruction manual, shouldn't it be that way? But it's not. For what reason? For mass appeal. For people to be emotionally bound to it. For people to trade in their ability to have emotional ties to something that may not. I don't think this is a measure of what religion is right and wrong based off of which one has the least amount of feminism in it, because that comes down to environment and culture. You can sit here and say, well, doesn't religion create the environment and culture? And we obviously, because if we're a Judeo-Christian based society and we've created this culture and all this good stuff, why is our culture falling apart at the seams? Well, because what it comes down to, well, there's really within the Bible that teaches people how to cultivate masculinity. Instead, it's a way to stymie men's masculinity, which ultimately makes it beta as well, which ultimately makes it serve the interests of women. Now, you could sit here and say, oh, well, what about Eastern Orthodox and all that other stuff? Well, the thing that they have going for them is the fact that they live in environments that are harsh still. They still have to battle nature in a way. It's cold, it's harsh. People have to work together. And for that, they still have an intact hierarchy. So they still have some level of knowledge when it comes to understanding the nature of reality. Anyway, this is a phenomenal conversation. I like this here as well. I don't believe in a greater good, so to speak. I believe I make the greater good with my actions and thoughts. The belief that we are nothing without God is a weird form of solipsism. 100% agree. Focus on you guys. Focus on you. Gladium says, Corey, no matter what piece exists, they're differently. After years, your writings would fall victim to that same fate. 100%. Again, go read my book. I talk about this in the very, very beginning of it. The thing that's different from today, writings of the past, is this. Look at what we're doing right now. We're having a conversation. This is recorded, and essentially this could live on forever. You could see my face. You could hear my tone. You have a library of things that back up my belief system. So you could read my book, and then you could go to my videos, and you could hear me back up and give you the understanding, the belief behind it, how I got to here, how I came up with these conclusions, why. There's also a whole bunch of history that's documented to show what's led up to me believing in these things. Whereas before, the only thing you could do is just read a book, because it's the same thing. You're absolutely right. I could read George Orwell's 1984 and I could sit here and say, oh, that's him supporting capitalism and renouncing communism. But the fact of the matter was that George Orwell was a democratic socialist. Believe it or not, go look it up. I had to look it up. He believed in democratic socialism. He did. We need to turn away from capitalism. People will, exactly like what you said, input their own emotion, puts aside what they want that through reading. That's why, honestly, what we've been raised on as far as the species is concerned is for years and years and years, thousands of years, oratory. That's how, believe it or not, this is why most people love coming on and watching this show. Why? Because you're listening to me speak and give lessons through it. You get to hear the inflection of my voice. You get to hear my tone. You get to see my facial features when I'm talking about this stuff, and you get actual energy for thousands of years. I want to say roughly 80,000 years, let's say, if that's how long we've been around for, or been able to speak. This has been the way by which we've learned. And it's only been, what, 300, 400 years, maybe, that the mass population of people writing. And as you just said, there's a lot of loss in translation when it comes to writing. Writing's good. It's not to say that we need to go back 100% to just oratory structures. But the merging of the two is now where we're at as far as evolution has brought us. And the best part is it gets to remain documented. The other best part too is this. If I have, if I have meetings and so forth, I can reach out to a wider mass of people through a webinar. And more people could hear and see me. That's the beauty of what our technology is today. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Scroll up. I like this one. You guys can hear me clicking, I hope. I'm trying to click and get a comment to go on the screen, but it's not working. I'm just going to read it. If you think Jesus was a teacher, read the gospel according to Judas and get his side of the story. Yeah, that's phenomenal. There we go. Finally. Fuck me, dude. Holy shit. How is fear not legitimate when it informs the very state of our soul, which has been an issue for every man since the beginning of time? Because although fear can be a teacher, it is not the best teacher. It is not a good way to mentor people. It doesn't teach the why. It just says, do this or else. What if I went around teaching you that way all the time? Do this or else. Just showed up here. Hey, guys, go work out today. Go eat a healthy meal. Don't jerk off. Read a book and worship God or else. Number one, that's a shitty show. But number two, it doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't give you the ability to lead yourself. We are now at a point in time where we have to know the why. For quite some time, we didn't have the IQ level to understand the why. We needed fear in order to get us to move. But now that the collective IQ of the species is at a certain point, we, growing our brain, need to understand the why as our motivator. People aren't going to do things without the why. They're not going to do the things without the why. So that's why fear is an awful teacher, especially at this point in time. Good question, though. I appreciate that. The USA was the first country to do away with that mentality, the idea of the greater entity of king that has full control of your body and possessions. That's why they left King Jesus out. Good stuff. Anyway, it's about that point in time that we get on topic. Today's show, I'm discussing the way of men, and I'm also discussing the need for an inner circle and how it's imperative for not just your mental health, but also your survival, and why we are biologically driven to have and need an inner circle. So let's first and foremost, bear with me today, guys, because I'm going to read to you quite a bit out of the first chapter of The Way of Men. It shouldn't take too long, but it's just very well written. And I sat there reading it last night and I was entranced. And seeing as we're all in quarantine, why the fuck not? So without further ado. All righty. Mr. Jack Donovan, please do forgive me for ripping off your stuff. I'm not really ripping it off, but anyway. Hopefully I won't get a fucking copyright strike or whatever the fuck. Anyway, the way of men is the way of the gang. When someone tells a man to be a man, they mean that there is a way to be a man. A man is not just a thing to be, it is also a way to be, a path to follow, and a way to walk. Some try to make manhood mean everything. Others believe that it means nothing at all. Being good at being a man can't mean everything, but it has always meant something. Most traditions have viewed masculinity and femininity as complementary opposites. It makes sense to say that masculinity is that which is least feminine and femininity is that which is least masculine. But saying that doesn't tell us much about the way of men. Boys and girls don't pair off at birth and scurry off to a dank cave together. Humans have always been social animals. We live in cooperative groups. Our bodies sort us into groups of males and females. We interact socially as members of one group or the other. These groups aren't arbitrary or cultural. They're basic and biological. Males have to negotiate male and female groups as males. Males aren't simply reacting to females. We react to other males as males. Who we are has a lot to do with how we see ourselves in relationship to other males as members of the male group. Very, very true. A man is not merely a man, but a man among men in a world of men. Being good at being a man has more to do with a man's ability to succeed with men and within groups of men than it does with a man's relationship to any woman or any group of women. Think about that for a little bit. When someone tells a man to be a man, they are telling him to be more like other men, more like the majority of men, and ideally more like the men whom other men hold in high regard. I want you to think about that. Let's reread that. When someone tells a man to be a man, they are telling him to be more like other men, more like the majority of men, and ideally more like the men whom other men hold in high regard. I co-sign that 100%. Women believe they can improve men by making masculinity about what women want from men. Men want women to want them, but female approval isn't the only thing men care about. When men compete against each other for status, they are competing for each other's approval. The women who men find most have historically been attracted to or been claimed by men who were and revered by other men. Female approval has rarely been a consequence. Masculinity is about being a man within a group of men. Above all things, masculinity is about what men want from each other. If the way of men seems confusing, it's only because there are so many different groups of men who want so many different things from men. Established men of wealth and power have always duty and obedience, or that manhood could be proved by attaining wealth and power through established channels. Men of religion and ideology have always wanted men to believe that being a man or endeavor and that manhood could be proved through various means of self-mastery, self-denial, self-sacrifice, or evangelism. Evangelism is the word I'm looking for. Evangelism. Men who have something to sell have always wanted men to believe that masculinity can be proved or improved by buying it. Tate. In a united tribe with a strong sense of its own identity, there's some harmony between the interests of male groups. The way of men seems straightforward enough. In a complex, cosmopolitan, individualistic, distant, a la carte identities, the way of men is unclear. The ways touted by rich and powerful men are tossed with the ways of gurus and ideologues and jumbled with the macho trinkets of merchants in such a mess that it's easy to see why masculinity can mean anything, everything, or nothing at all. Add that to the improvements suggested by women and the way of ideals. To understand who men are, what they have in common, and why men struggle to prove their worth to each other. Reduce male groups to their nucleic form. Sprawling, complex civilizations made up of millions of people are entirely new to them. All right, I'm back. Let's pick up where I left off. For most of their time on this planet, men have organized in small survival bands. All right, good. Set against a hostile environment, competing for women and resources with other bands of men. Understanding the way men react to each other demands an understanding of their most basic social unit. Understanding what men relieve the moral pretense and stripped of full costumes, the raw of men, the gang. You are part of a small human group fighting to stay alive. The reason why doesn't matter. Conquest, war, death, hunger, or disease. Any of the horsemen will do. You could be our primal ancestors. You could be pioneers. You could be stranded in some remote location. You could be survivors of a nuclear holocaust or the zombie apocalypse. Again, it doesn't matter. For humans with advanced technology, the scenario plays out more or less the same way. You have to define your group. You have who is in and who is out. You need to create and maintain some sort of zone around the perimeter of your group. Everyone will have to contribute to the group survival. The group agrees to protect and feed someone who can't contribute due to age or illness. For those who can work, you'll need to decide who does what based on what they are good at and who works well together and what makes need to do to stay alive. To thrive, humans need protein and fat. You can get enough protein and fat from vegetables, but without an established farm, you're going to be hard-pressed to gather enough vegetables to meet your nutritional needs. A large animal can provide protein and fat for days, longer if you know how to preserve that meat. The problem with big, protein-rich animals is that they don't want to die. Meat is muscle, and more muscle makes animals strong, often stronger than men. Wild beasts come equipped with tusks, antlers, hooves, claws, and sharp teeth. They're going to fight for their lives. Taking down a big, protein-rich animal is going to be dangerous. It will require strength, courage, technique, and teamwork. Finding, exploring, venturing out in the unknown, and who looks out there. If you're going to survive, your group will need protection from predators, animal, human, alien, or undead. If there is something or something out there who wants what you have and is willing to fight for it, you're going to need to figure out who in your group is going to be willing to fight back. You'll want the people who are best at fighting to stand watch, to defend everything you care about, or to go out and eliminate a potential threat. If someone or something has something that you need, the best way to get it may be to take it. Who in your group will be willing and able to do that? Maybe females are part of your group. Maybe they aren't. If females are with you, they won't have access to reliable birth control. Males and females won't stop having sex, and females will get pregnant. Humans are mammals. Like most mammals, a greater part of the reproductive burden will fall on women. That's not fair, but nature isn't fair. Even strong, aggressive women become more vulnerable and less mobile to bond with their offspring and take to caring for them quickly. Babies are helpless and children are vulnerable for years. If there were no other physical, mental differences between men and women in a hostile environment, the biological realities of human reproduction would still mean that over time, more men would be charged with exploring, hunting, fighting, building, and defending. Men would have more time to specialize and develop the necessary skills to excel at those tasks. They wouldn't have a good excuse not to. Men will never get pregnant. They will never be nursing, and they will never be less encumbered by their children. They may not even know who their children are. Women know who their kids are. Children don't depend on their fathers in the same way that they depend on their mothers. Men are free to take risks for good of the group, believing that their offspring will live on. Bear with me, guys. We only got a little bit more to go until I get to the point. As there are biological between men and women that have little to do with pregnancy feeding. On average, men are bigger, stronger than women. Men are more daring and probably more mechanically inclined. Chimpanzees will often hunt in teams to cooperate because hunting is more effective than hunting alone. When you put them together, any team, the raw skills of your candidates aren't the only factors. You also have to consider the team's social dynamic, which people will work together best. As a leader, you want to create that synergy, reduce distractions, and avoid conflicts within the group. Males will compete for status with any group, but they will also compete for females. Eliminating a second layer of potential jealousy and antagonism may be a reason enough to choose male over female. If there are females in your group, they will have plenty of hard and necessary work to do. That's good. All right, let's go to the party gang, because this is what I want to talk about here. Thomas Hobbes wrote that when men live without fear of a common power, they live in a state of war. In war, every man is against every other man. Hobbes' idea of war is interesting on the theoretical level. Chimpanzees organize on a party gang basis, which means they change the size of their group depending on the circumstances. Chimps gather together in large parties and build alliances for strategic reasons, for mating, and for sharing of resources. When circumstances change, think about that in relation to where we're at right now. Circumstances changing. When circumstances change, they break into smaller groups and hunting parties. The smaller groups, the gangs, are the tightest and most stable. The males are loyal and rarely move from gang to gang. Females sometimes join the males in hunting activities, but they are more likely to move from one gang to another over time. Men organize the same way. For example, take military units. Army, 80,000 to 200,000 members. Corps, 20,000 to 45,000 members. Division, 10,000 to 15,000 members. Brigade, 3,000 to 5,000. Regiment, 3,000 to 5,000. Battalion, 300 to 1,300. Company, 80 to 25. Platoon, 26 to 55. Squad, patrol, section, 18 to 30 or 18 to 13. Fire team, 2 to 4 members. All of men in a given army are part of the same big team, but strength of the bonds between men will increase as the size of the unit decreases. Think of that. Strength of the bond between men will increase as the size of the unit decreases. In smaller groups, men are more loyal to one another. Sebastian Younger asked U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan about their allegiances, and they told him that they would unhesitatingly risk their lives for anyone in the platoon or company. But that sentiment dropped off pretty quickly after that, moving up to the brigade level. There's frequently rivalry between the groups. Each group has its own regalia, its own traditions, its own symbolism, and its own common history. I want to get to this part, and this is where we'll end. Some researchers believe that the human brain can only process enough information to maintain meaningful relationships with 150 or so people at any given time. That's about the size of a military company, but about the same size of typical primitive human tribe and roughly the number of friends that most people contact regularly through social networking sites. Within that tribe of 150 people, people form even smaller groups. How many people would you loan a lot of money to? How many people could depend on you in an emergency? How many people could depend on you, period? If you're like most people, that number drops to a size of a platoon, a squad, or even a fire team. The team size for most group sports is somewhere between the fire team number. Football has about 50 members, but only 11 on the field at a time. Basketball teams, 25 members, but only 9 on the court. Soccer teams play between 7 and 11. Basketball teams, 5. Water polo teams, 7. Men revert back to this archetypal gang size, even for recreation and storytelling. How many main characters are there in your favorite film, book? Number works for religion and the myth too. Jesus had 12 apostles. How many Greek gods? The number of 2 to 15 men is a comfort zone. It's an effective team size for tactical maneuvers, but is also socially manageable. You really know about that one time. You can only really know. You can maintain a good working relationship and a meaningful social history with 100 or so or more. Beyond those numbers, connections become extremely superficial. Trust breaks down. More rules and codes, always enforced by the threat of violence, are required to keep men together. Anyway. It's us versus them. No matter what, it's us versus. So what does this mean? Why are we now circles? How many of you guys have two that you operate? You can trust with everything. They're covering your 6. They're helping to make sure that you are on your path. Staying to say that because it's an army slogan. But honestly, that's what it comes down to with cultivating. An under circle is the way of men. Having that group of men is essential for, but the problem is with a lot of us right now, we are operating as a solo figure, and we're trying to get into these groups that are far too big, especially with men that we don't really know. We don't really, belief systems are structures. And essentially that's what I'm trying to create. As you guys, I have a website called A Group of Men with all get together. We do a webinar. We have a group out, and we have in order to. Why did I create WarTribe? Because I recognize exactly like what Jack's talking about here. Number one, we need to create a group of men. We need to focus on masculinity. We need to create better men that are trained in survival, that are trained in wanting to survive, that are trained in understanding what is coming down the pike right now as far as this quote unquote war is concerned. It's also good for mental health. It's good for support. It's good for fucking feeling secure. There's not a lot of people out there right now that are invested. There's too many people out there that are looking at the superficial. I need to get as from authentic fucking social media outlets and all this other stuff. And unfortunately, that's not the case. That's not working out very well for many people today. So what's the game plan? What's the goal? I think marching forward, honestly, if this is something that you're interested in, I would say join the WarTribe. If this is stuff that you're interested in, honestly, join the WarTribe. And this is not me trying to pitch anything to you guys at this point in time, because I think what I'm going to do, honestly, is this. I raised prices up to $30 a month for the WarTribe, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change it back down to $20 a month just to take the financial people. I'd love to see more and more people join at this point in time and have a brotherhood than sit here and try to make more money. It was growing very well up until this coronavirus thing came trudging along, and then people kind of started to latch onto their wallets more. I get that. That's why I'm at this point in time where I'm saying, you know what? I would much rather have people be part of the group and stick with it than worrying about feeding my pockets. right, than worrying about the amount of money. Now, most people say, why don't you just open it up for free then if that's the case? The thing is, and just like most people, you need to understand this. Whatever's free to people, they don't value. Understanding that there's a connection between spending something and giving a little bit of our own hard-earned energy and investing into it. There's a sense of worth associated with it. So that's part of the reason why. So anyway, what I read, I didn't write that. That was from the book The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. I think he's done a tremendous job as far as being able to identify the march down. Very good book. If you guys haven't picked it up, please do go and check out The Way of Men by by Jack Donovan. Fucking Donovans. But anyway, with that said, I don't have much left for you guys, honestly, and I have to get to class. I have an online class. Let's see how that works out because my internet's so fucked right now, and I'm getting frustrated with me cutting in and out. It's really pissing me off. But I'm also not seeing any comments right now at this point in time in the comment section. So I don't know if you guys are just not commenting or if my what's it called is fucked. So that's why I'm also saying fuck it. I'm going to call it here. But anyway, for those of you guys that are listening outside of the live stream, please do me a favor. What part of that book did you most resonate with? What do you think, honestly, when it comes to creating an inner circle? I'd love to know. What do you think is the hardest part of creating an inner circle? I'd like to know as well. Just putting this in the comment section. How many men would you say are part of your inner circle at this point in time? And the reason why I ask these questions is because I just really like to know where the state of my listeners are at right now, as far as what they have set up for an inner circle group of men. What type of gang do you have set up? And from there, I'll be able to get kind of a better view and a better scope of where we're at as far as developing masculinity today. So anyway, with that said, guys, like I said, I can't see any comments. The last comment I got was "Killing animals is easy" by John Galt. That's the last comment I could see. So I don't know if you guys are dropping comments right now at all. But with that said, hopefully I'll be around tomorrow if the internet's fucking working. And if not, follow me on Instagram or join the WarTribe. That way there you'll have a better way and a better means of connecting with me. So if you're interested in joining the WarTribe, www.thewartribe.com. And with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios.